I feel the need to dispel this teaching in the twin flame community that is widely circulated that says you're not allowed to even think about your twin flame. You can't have any type of even internal connection to them, or you're chasing. I was just scrolling and I read something that said, you can't do this, dot, dot, dot. Your twin will return to you when they stop feeling you need them. And these teachings are just wrong, frankly. I've also heard you're not allowed to have pictures of your twin on your phone or in your living space or wherever. These teachings are just wrong. There's an underlying truth that they stem from, but they've gotten twisted and distorted to be so confusing. I'm going to try and break this down here to explain it in the best way possible. So, the underlying truth. For union to align, both of you need to come into inner union. The distorted, false truth that's being spread is that means you're not even allowed to think about them. This is ridiculous because how would any twin flame really even be able to stop thinking about them? It is so incredibly painful as well as difficult to turn off those thoughts. Like, raise your hand if you literally can't even help that your twin flame is constantly on your mind and you constantly feel their energy and their presence. You're not even asking for it or looking for it. You literally wake up in the morning and you can immediately feel your twin flame's energy and emotions, feel like their higher self with you even, and you're just automatically connected to their energy all the time. Like, think about what twin flames are and why you can't break this connection, because it is a permanent soul tie because of being from the same soul, and you constantly feel each other and you constantly have that telepathy of thoughts and emotions, and that cord is permanent and unbreakable. This is why you can't cut cords with twin flames, right? That cord is unbreakable because of what it is, because of it being the same souls, like trying to cut off a limb. And it's so incredibly painful when you try to let go of your twin flame, because it's like trying to cut off a limb. That soul tie is permanent and unbreakable for a reason, and that's why it's incredibly painful when you try to do that. So how on earth would you stop thinking about them? Like, how would you force yourself to not direct any energy whatsoever towards them when it's always there, it's always present without you even trying? How would anyone even do that? That's so absurd to me. And the fact that there are actually advisors who teach people this and tell them, like, you need to stop thinking about your twin. You know, you're damaging, I don't know if they say you're damaging the connection, but like you're preventing union from happening because you're thinking about them. No, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how would you even turn it off like that? That's not what has to happen here, okay? It's important to me to say this because I feel like there are a lot of twin flames, especially divine feminines, of course, who they get upset and they feel like they're doing something wrong if they can't stop thinking about their twin. Or they worry about like causing a delay or causing problems or making it harder to come into union, or they fret. I have so many clients who overthink and fret about all of these little things, like every single action they take, every single thought that they think, let alone word that they speak, and what they may or may not be doing wrong, and if it's negatively affecting the connection or the journey or the path to union. And it's not, you're not. First of all, let me say that Spirit has taught me that you can't do anything wrong. Your journey is your journey. It's going to be whatever it needs to be for each of you. And you can't do anything wrong. You're going through your healing process. Your twin is going through their healing process. And what's supposed to happen is going to happen. So first of all, you need to get out of this headspace where you can do something wrong, or that it can be controlled. Because honestly, it can't. I can tell you that for sure. And then the other thing is, stop torturing yourself. Stop worrying and fretting that oh my God, I thought about my twin. Oh my, I might have caused a delay or whatever it is. Like, I hate that people make people feel that way. I hate advisors make people feel that way. Like, it's just wrong. So what do you need to do? And I say it, I shouldn't even say it like that, because this is something that will happen naturally. You can't really force it. What someone at some point in time was trying to explain and describe is a state of inner being that you are going to reach. And that is what will align with union. But that state of inner being, you can't force it. People can say to you, this is how you need to feel, this is what needs to happen, but you can't force it to happen unnaturally. You yourself will naturally heal and evolve to that state of being over the course of your twin flame journey. It's part of your healing process. You can't force yourself to get there sooner than your mind and body is ready to get there. What you can do is focus on what will help you achieve that and what will help you get there. There are certain things that you can do in your physical world that will help that process along. And shifting your mindset and shifting your focus of your thoughts, even for some people, it's even controlling your thinking so that you shift away from like negative thoughts and focus to positive ones. And it's honestly more about like a mental state of how you function through life. And that's why it can't be forced. It's something that you will naturally evolve through. Spirit, your own higher self, will put you through the experiences that will help you get there and reach that state. But it's the way you approach life and living day to day. So what it is when you come into that state of inner union, you will feel completely like fulfilled independently. You will no longer feel any type of like codependent need towards your twin or anybody else for that matter, in which like you're not going to be looking to your twin to rescue you, so to speak, in the physical world. Like, you will be focused on your life purpose and path, and living it. And from my experience with clients, that doesn't always necessarily mean 100% financially independent. There are varying situations, so I don't want to focus on the financial part because that is very specific to each person. But it primarily means that you are working on your life purpose and soul path, and you are not looking for somebody else to rescue you. You're focused on self-sufficiency and independence. And in terms of emotionally, you're not looking outside of yourself for love or validation. You feel it for yourself. You're happy within yourself. You're content, and you don't need that from your twin in order to feel fulfilled. You do, and you will receive that love from your twin, but you don't need it in order to be happy. That's the difference. That phrase, your twin will return to you when they feel you not needing you anymore. Or not needing them anymore. That's not true. Your twin, first of all, you are meant to reach that state of not needing them anymore. You're not doing anything wrong by that. And it's not hurtful to your twin either. Your twin will return when they reach their own state of inner union, not because they feel you not needing them anymore, not thinking about them anymore. That implies that they, are afraid of losing you, so they come running. No, they will come when they reach their own state of inner union. Both of you will evolve into those inner states of being independently on your own, and you will reunite when you both align, when you align internally on that, and when your external circumstances align for you to come together as well. So see what I mean? It's a huge difference between stop thinking about your twin versus your inner thought processes and emotions healing to where you choose each other instead of needing each other. Do you see what I'm saying? So as I was saying, union is not going to align because you force yourself to stop thinking about your twin and you force yourself to move on. Being in a state of inner union does not mean that you're moving on from your twin. It means that you are focused on your individual path, your healing, your life purpose, your evolution and through spiritual awakening and to that higher frequency inner state of being, which comes from like that evolved thinking, like focusing on that higher spiritual perspective, seeing the world through that higher spiritual lens instead of through the 3D lens. Like you literally, so I was describing that inner state of being and functioning, how you see life and approach life. So that's literally you like shedding the 3D conditioning and shifting how you see the world and how you see life and how you function. You're shifting that up from the 3D conditioning to you moving through the fourth density thinking, even up to the 5D, fifth density, spiritual perspective on life and living, both from an individual standpoint and from a collective and worldly standpoint. So as you are going through your spiritual rebirth process, which is what the twin flame journey is, you will start to see the world differently. You will start to understand things differently. You will be shedding all of that 3D conditioning and you will be evolving into, actually, you're integrating your higher self. So it's not so much evolving into, it's integrating your higher self, merging with your higher self and your soul from the higher densities and frequencies and seeing the world differently. And that's when and how your inner mindset and state of being changes. And I realized as I was saying that that's why that teaching is wrong, because it's coming from the 3D perspective. That teaching of you have to stop thinking about your twin or putting any internal energy or psychological, emotional processes towards your twin is coming from that lower 3D perspective. It's trying to understand the twin flame journey, but not understanding it from the 5D perspective. And that's why it's wrong. It's trying to explain a 5D feeling from a 3D perspective, and you just can't do that. And that's why it's wrong. And that's why it's gotten distorted and perpetuated. So the difference is that when you truly come into that inner union, you're not forcing yourself to not think about your twin, forcing yourself to move on. You still think of your twin and feel the connection. And in fact, it integrates into you more in a state of oneness. Like when you're in the beginning stages of the journey and even in the middle where you're still struggling, like I remember feeling my twin's higher self separate from me more. His higher self was always around me, but I could feel him separate from me more. Like I could, like almost like there was a ghost sitting next to me who could, like, I could feel hold my hand or hug me or kiss me on the forehead or something. But the more inner union I reached, the more his higher self is one with me, and I don't feel him separately. He's just part of me, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain. So you will still think about them. You will still feel the emotions. You are most likely also in communication at this point when you're in that state of inner union to some extent, whether how much depends on the person. But you're not going to be denying the connection is the main thing. You're not going to be denying the connection or trying to turn it off, trying to turn off the thinking, trying to cut the cords, whatever. Like none of that. You will feel it, and it will be an important part of your life, and it will be a constant feeling, a constant knowing, and they'll constantly be on your mind as well, even if they're like off to the side in your mind. You know what I mean? Like sometimes if I'm focused on work, he's just off to the side instead of more in the forefront. Does that make sense to some of you? But anyway, the difference is that you have complete faith and trust in union. You're just, going about your life. And in terms of how union is coming together, you are detached from expectations. You're detached from trying to control how it happens. You're detached from needing them to act a certain way or behave a certain way or do certain things. You're even detached from timing of what will happen or when. Like, the more you come into inner union, the more you realize that that stuff isn't important, and you know and you understand that each of you individually are going through an intense, significant process of internal transformation, the spiritual rebirth process that this is, and it can't be forced and it can't be controlled, and it has to play out exactly how it needs to for each of you. You have specific things that you are meant to go through as part of your rebirth, your life purpose path, your journey to self-love and healing your self-worth wounds, your whatever it is, your shadow work, and whatever else that brings you to that state of inner fulfillment, happiness, and contentment without needing that from anybody external, whether you're twin flame or anybody else. Here's the thing that people forget, though. Here's the thing that divine feminines forget. Your masculine has to go through that same process. Your masculine needs to reach that state of being happy within himself, creating the life that he's happy with his life purpose and career and work path, of healing his self-worth wounds, and shadow work and all that stuff. He has to go through that process too. You can't expect him to come to you. I say him. Let's acknowledge real quick, divine masculines can be either gender, even though they seem to more often be male, and mine is a male, so that's why I do that. But anyway, just ignore the specific gender pronouns. Your divine masculine has to go through that process too. You can't force them or push them to come into union before they're ready, before they have completed their own inner rebirth process. Somebody used a great analogy for this one day that I repeat sometimes. So imagine like you guys are getting ready for a date. Or actually, I like to say, well, you're getting ready for your wedding, because union's bigger than just a date, right? You guys are getting ready for your wedding. Do you want your twin to show up for the wedding like half dressed, not completely ready? Or do you yourself want to, like, your wedding dress isn't ready, your hair and makeup's not ready? No, you don't. You want everything to be aligned and ready on your wedding day, right? It's the same thing here. Like, everything needs to come together. Your twin needs to be ready. You don't want them to show up while you're still in the bathroom getting ready. You have to recognize that. You have to allow it to take place. You can't try to rush the process. You can't try to control it. You can't try and force it. You have to let your twin go through their side of the process, and you have to as well. You have to acknowledge your own inner work, whether it's emotionally or in your physical world, and you have to allow it to take place. Doing something like, make yourself stop thinking about them so that they think that you don't need them anymore and they'll come running. That's not going to align union. And if they do come running because they think you don't need them anymore, it'll probably just be temporary, and you'll have another separation because neither of you are ready yet. And if you are doing those things because you're trying to force your twin to run back to you, that's just another sign that you're not ready yet. So hopefully this helps provide some clarity on that teaching. Like I said, it stems from that inner state of being that you are meant to reach over the course of this process, but it cannot be forced, and it doesn't mean trying to turn off your thoughts or trying to force yourself to move on. You're allowed to think about them. You're allowed to talk to them. You're allowed to have pictures of them. You just want to focus on allowing yourself to evolve into that higher inner state of being aligned with 5D consciousness. Okay? I hope that helps. If you have questions, feel free to ask, because it is hard to explain. I want to include one more thought about the whole balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine when it comes to coming into union, because I emphasized in the videos about what it feels like and what the dynamic is like for coming into inner union. And I was emphasizing how both sides are not meant to have that need for each other, like you need the other person for survival or to feel fulfilled and happy. And one of the things I talked about was you're not looking to your twin flame to rescue you in any way. Like you are capable of taking care of yourself, essentially. But that phrasing is actually one of the key differences moving forward from that point. Being capable of taking care of yourself versus what dynamic you two will create together moving into union are two different scenarios, basically. So on one hand, I do feel that once you come into union, you two may very well choose to have a relationship dynamic in which one person is the provider primarily and the other person takes care of other things, whether it's the family and home or spiritual work or a combination of all of the above. But the main thing is that you will have entered into a harmonious relationship and make the choice to balance the relationship in that way versus before entering the union harmonious relationship and feeling like you need that person in order to survive, to fulfill that role for you. Like you need that person to be the provider for you. That's the difference. It's that, I literally can't survive without this person versus we choose each other and we choose to have this dynamic. Because I it's important to me to point this out because from what I've seen and experienced, I do feel like once twin flames come into union, I don't think it's uncommon for the divine masculine to be the provider and the divine feminine to focus on the spiritual work, because the divine masculines inherently are always more grounded in the 3D reality, whereas the feminines are usually more in their upper chakras. Divine masculines in their lower chakras, divine feminines in their upper chakras. Divine feminines are usually more spiritually aware and awakened, and the divine feminines are usually the ones who are more guided to do different spiritual work as part of their life purpose. The divine masculines are more likely for their life purpose to be like more normal 3D world stuff. So for that reason, once they enter into that harmonious relationship, it is pretty common for the masculine to hold down the fort, so to speak, so that the feminine can do the spiritual work as well as take care of family and any other personal matters for the two of them. So I didn't want it to come across like there's something wrong with that. That is a normal and natural thing for the twin flames as well. It's just that leading up to union, when you are coming into that state of inner union first, where you're healing and aligning, balancing within yourself in preparation for union, that's where it matters more, because you're just not supposed to have that codependent need for the other person, essentially. I hesitate at times because I recognize that there are different situations and different dynamics for lots of different people. I mean, I know different people who are in situations that are more complicated and complex when it comes to financial stuff and work and all of that. And I don't want to make anyone afraid for that reason, because I know some situations are more difficult than others. And there are also twin flames, both divine masculine and divine feminine, who are stuck in complicated karmic situations, abusive ones, where, getting out and being on your own is harder. And that's why I don't want to scare or trigger anybody, because I don't, it's a lot of those people may feel like, how is it possible for this to change, to be able to reach a place of like being okay on your own? You know what I mean? And in those situations, what I say is you need to trust the process. You need to trust spirit. Like, it's definitely part of your healing journey to be able to stand in your sovereignty and overcome those situations, to get on your feet and be able to take care of yourself for the most part. But I don't think that every single twin flame would necessarily get to the point of being 100% okay on their own. There are complex situations, like I said. You could be leaning on other people around you, family, or social structures. That's all possible. Let's not limit our thinking of how it can look or come to pass. There's a variety of factors and possibilities. Don't focus on the how. Don't focus on what or how. Just know that as far as that inner union goes, it's about working on yourself and your strength and your independence, and not having an unhealthy codependent need on your twin. And then allow things to play out how they need to for your personal situations, both you and your twin. And know that when you come into union, you two will work out whatever dynamic works best for you. The point is that it's what you choose for each other. It's not a projection of expectations or need. Make sense? One other thing, when it comes to the state of inner union, I know I talked a lot about that in the previous two videos, but something else that just came to mind. So when you are in physical union with your twin, like I just said, you are going to balance the energies and the dynamic between you and your twin flame. And that does tend to lean towards the typical masculine, feminine roles and stereotypes, just because it's a natural fit for those archetypes for masculine and feminine. It doesn't have to be that way, especially when it's same-sex twin flames as well. Obviously, there's going to be a shift in dynamic there. But anyway, my point being that I'm focusing on the balance between the masculine and feminine energies. So within the union relationship and dynamic, you two will balance the masculine and feminine energies between the two of you, of who is more in masculine roles and who is more in feminine roles. And of course, naturally, that's going to lean more towards divine feminine and feminine roles, and divine masculine and masculine roles. But before that, when you're coming into inner union, that's about balancing the masculine and feminine energies within yourself. So it can be confusing and complex to figure that out, I think, because we get so used to like our personalities and how we function in the world, how we've been forced to function in the world for survival purposes, especially when we're on our own. And it can feel weird when we start working on, the opposite energies of what we predominantly function within. But that's something that will naturally take place as you are going through this evolution of mind and mindsets that is bringing you towards inner union. So that's something you will experience as well, that shifting dynamic within yourself of also balancing the internal masculine and feminine energies. And of course, the feminine usually has to heal and balance the masculine more, and the masculine usually has to heal and balance the feminine more. But that's just a natural process. So first you're going to balance those within yourself, and then when you two come together and start moving forward, you will balance them between the two of you. Okay? So that's basically like what you should expect with all of that. I want to say one more thing about the whole message about you're not allowed to think about your twin even. And it was largely about inner union, but specifically that phrasing that you see people posting all the time. You're not allowed to even think about your twin. You can't even have a psychological connection with them. Your internal world, you have to completely let them go. Somebody said something that gave me a realization and reminder. And so this is an important distinction to make in the quality of your thoughts. So, how to explain this? I want to make sure I explain this in the best way possible. It's hard to explain these things though. So, what I was emphasizing in the first few videos was that you're not doing anything wrong by thinking about your twin flame. It's completely normal to be thinking about them and have them on your mind and feeling their energy regularly. Like, it's impossible to turn off even. It's a normal occurrence. And it's like trying to turn that off would be like trying to cut the cord and trying to move on. Like, it's impossible. You're not supposed to. You're only hurting yourself more. Now, that being said, there is a difference between just thinking about your twin, kind of treating it like a normal relationship where, if you're in any normal relationship, you think about your partner, you're not like silencing your thoughts about your partner, right? But there's a difference between that and obsessing about the person. And by obsessing, I mean like obsessing over what they're doing and how they're acting and things that they're saying and the way that they're treating you. And, like if you're feeling like they need to do this more or do that more or read my messages or talk to me more, or like it could be anything. It's hard for me to think of examples, especially on the spot, but it could be anything. There's a difference between just naturally like thinking about your twin in general, feeling their energy, feeling, their emotions, versus obsessing over, have they read my messages? Are they online? What are they doing online? Who are they talking to? Things like that. They haven't, answered me since, whenever I sent this message or whatever. Those types of obsessive and controlling or even possessive types of thinking, that's different. And it's very possible that the people who are posting those twin flame posts or videos or whatever, saying, stop thinking about your twin, you're not allowed to think about your twin, things like that, they could be referring to that energy. That's something, it's like I said, if you just say thinking about your twin, it really could apply in either way. Really, all of these different posts, like, they need to be explained more properly. And I do think it's wrong to shame people as well, or to treat them like they're doing something wrong. But it is important to point out the distinction. I can feel my hair like falling down behind the back of my head. That's why it's bothering me. So anyway, so yeah, when you are in that obsessive energy, that's like that controlling energy, I do think that your twin flames energy can withdraw from you because of you being in that obsessive energy. And I actually have some evidence to go by with that too. You see this? This right here is what I feel falling. It's like bugging me. It's like a sensory thing. Oh, sorry. Okay. So I have a close friend, who she and her twin flame, they're in a complicated situation. I'm not going to get into the details of the situation, but they're in a complicated situation. They have bracelets. They're same-sex twin flames. So it is helpful to her because her DM is a woman. Women are naturally more expressive and communicative, so that's helpful, right? But they have bracelets that you can tap the bracelet to like let the other person know that you're thinking about them. Those bracelets have actually come in very handy in teaching us about the divine masculine's energy. I know she's a woman, but still, like, we've seen a lot, even in the year, little more that they've had them. We've seen a lot of evidence of how they are connected energetically and telepathically because of the bracelets. Because when she when she is in certain energy, her twin reacts. So they don't have to physically speak or message each other. If she is in certain energy or thinking about certain things, her twin will tap the bracelet like telepathically on cue, basically, practically. Versus other times where her twin is more withdrawn and is not tapping the bracelet. I wish that I could remember all of the examples and details right now, but I can't. But I do remember, this is what triggered my memory. I do remember her realizing and recognizing that when she would get triggered, when my friend would get triggered and would be in like lower 3D energy and is kind of obsessing over, my twin hasn't opened my messages yet. She hasn't read my messages yet. She read my messages. She hasn't responded to me, blah, blah, blah. When she's been like focused on that stuff and been like in triggered energy, her twin's energy withdraws and does not respond to her and does not tap the bracelet. And as soon as she clears herself, cleanses herself, gets rid of that negative energy and kind of gets back into a higher vibrational mindset, closer to inner union, actually. More of that like spiritual 5D thinking and feeling, not focusing on that controlling 3D energy of how she's focusing on how she's acting and what she's doing. And instead is in that higher vibrational mindset and is just like trusting the process, trusting that whatever's going on with her twin is everything's fine. There's nothing to worry about. It doesn't mean that something's wrong. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love me. It doesn't mean that she's lying to me. It doesn't mean that there's anything negative going on, basically. And also, so part of it is like jumping to assumptions, and part of it is just in that like negative mindset. As soon as she can step back into the spiritual perspective and that inner peace state, and is just more connecting on those higher frequencies, then her twin flame's energy comes forward again, and she starts tapping the bracelet again, and the telepathic energy improves. So that is actually the perfect example of the difference between the two ways of thinking about your twin. So it's not that you're not allowed to like, what was that? It's not like you're not allowed to think about your twin at all. You can. That's completely normal. But it's the quality of your thoughts, and it's the quality of your emotions. So it is very important for you to focus on, I know that I said and I explained how you will naturally evolve into that inner union state, that higher vibrational shift in state of being, mindset, all that stuff. And it's true, you will naturally evolve to that. Like it's a process that we can't really control. Like we are in our 3D mindset for a period of time, and we naturally go through the experiences that bring us to that, evolved, higher spiritual perspective and inner state. But you can try to control your thoughts and emotions, control your reactions in order to shift your energy away from focusing on those lower 3D energies and negative emotions and thoughts, to focus instead on the higher vibrational ones. That doesn't have to mean you're not allowed to think about your twin at all, but it's about the quality and the oh my gosh, where the frequency is. Basically, try to stop and control the negative thoughts and emotions and try to focus on the higher perspective and the higher vibrational ones. So that's the difference, okay? You can think about them, but don't be overly obsessive or negative focused, and try to shift your energy up as best you can, and you will learn more as you go. So I hope that helps more as well. You could say also, don't let yourself go down a rabbit hole of negative emotions, right? That works too. Something else came to me too regarding the quality of your thoughts about your twin flame. And this is also important, just the same way as I was just explaining in the previous video, how it's not that thinking about your twin is the problem, it's that the quality of the thoughts that can be a problem. You need to get away from the obsessive, controlling type of thoughts or negative, lower energies that are controlling you and how you're thinking about them. But what that also includes, so I used the example of my friend with her twin and their bracelets that they can tap, and simply the obsessing over like, has she read my messages, has she why is she taking so long to answer, things like that. But you can also And we've noticed this from using the bracelet as well, but it's something else that I've noticed in general with all twins with my clients and even myself. If you get too overly focused on like so okay, hold on. These are still normal relationships, right? Like these are twin flames, but they're also relationships that we are functioning in within the 3D world. And we're all human, we're all flawed, we're all damaged in certain ways. We've all gone through traumas and a variety of things that have caused like psychological and emotional trauma and damage, and that's completely normal. Every single person has. I don't think that you can find anyone who hasn't, so let me just clarify that. Yes, we're all collectively damaged. There's nobody who's not, okay? I do not believe that. So we all have our issues, and we all struggle in relationships to, always, I don't even like to say behave the right way, but I don't know how else to say it right now. You know what I mean though? Like all relationships have issues and have struggles because we all have our own shit, right? It's no different with our twin flames, especially when you factor in that almost all divine masculines have avoidant attachment and almost all divine feminines have anxious attachment. So that just makes it even more complicated. So what I'm getting at is, regardless of what state your connection with your twin flame is in, we are all humans who are flawed and traumatized and damaged, who are going through a human experience and going through a healing process and finding our way. And that means that there are naturally going to be things that happen in your relationship and connection that cause issues sometimes. What in normal relationships, you would discuss those issues, you would have fights, you would cry, you would yell, you would go through all those things with your partner. With a twin flame, you can't do that. Especially when you're in separation. I mean, let me rephrase that. You can do that. And you will get to stages of the relationship and the connection where you're able to discuss it. And it is important to learn healthy communication and how to discuss these things in the right way so that it does not cause or create more struggles. I don't want to say more damage, but more struggles, because as you're going through this journey, you're healing. And so the relationship is growing as you heal, but you can cause backward steps in your journey by, by poking and provoking your twin flame's wounds and them poking and provoking yours, simply because you guys aren't healed yet. And that's why learning how to have healthy communication is extremely important. And also learning how to control yourself to not say or do something that you shouldn't when you're upset is important, so that you don't trigger your twin flame and cause backward steps or regression because of their healing process, that you've poked and provoked their wounds that are healing so that you can align in harmonious union, right? So when you're going through your journey, whatever stage of your relationship, if you are focused, like you might not be focusing on what is your twin flame up to, but maybe you're focusing on specific things that have happened in your connection, whether it's recent or in the past, doesn't really matter. Whatever it is, if you're focused on my twin did this or that caused hurt to me, basically provoked or poked your own wounds, essentially, triggered you. If you're focusing on that, and you're directing negative energy towards your twin because you are focusing on their I love it when my phone just randomly pauses on me. I'm trying to differentiate how I say it. You're focusing on their behavior, but there's a difference between the previous behavior I described. The previous behavior I was meaning was what they're doing in the moment, if they're like not giving you enough attention, essentially, or if they're not making enough effort. Right now, I'm meaning stuff that's happened between you that has caused, arguments or upset or things like that has caused hurt in the connection. But in reality, it can be any of the above, just any behaviors or events that have occurred that have caused negative emotions for you. So if you're focusing on that, that is still sending negative energy to your twin flame. Like, you do have an automatic telepathic connection with your twin no matter what, all the time. My twin just asked me recently, like, how is it possible? How is it possible that you know how I'm feeling? That you know, like, when I'm busy and when I'm not busy? And I'm like, how do I explain telepathy to you? So, because he's, still, he's learning. That is opening up for him. He's learning how this all works. But yeah, it's complicated to explain. That connection is constant. Like, I literally, and it has been this way. It is, I didn't know we were twin flames until 4 years or 4 to 5 years after we met. And it explains so much, because I was like, oh, now I understand why, I could feel him all the time. Like, way before I even understood that this connection was. I knew when he was anxious. I would wake up in the morning. It's always been this way. I wake up in the morning and I instantly, like, feel his energy and know how he is that day, how he's feeling. I can tell at all times of the day. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, if I'm distracted or I'm not distracted. He's always just, like, right there. So understand that that's how powerful the twin flame connection is, and whatever energy and emotions that you're focusing on towards your twin, that is being sent to them energetically as well. They don't consciously realize it usually, unless they're more awakened and their gifts are more turned on, so to speak. So, like, my twin doesn't understand yet how to notice the telepathic connection. He knows that I feel it because I'll say stuff to him and people are like, how did you know that? But he doesn't understand how to recognize it himself. We had a telepathic thing the other night too. Like, he knew I went to see him to bring him something, and he knew without me saying it to him. I walked up and he was like, I was going to ask you about blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's why I'm here. But he didn't recognize the intuitive and telepathic connection, and I recognized it right away. So you have to realize that that is also the reason why there are people saying your thoughts matter and thinking about them matters. It's not that you're not allowed to think about them, but you do have to pay attention to the quality of your thoughts. And I know that things happen that are valid. There are valid reasons for you to be upset sometimes, but you really have to focus on not focusing on it, to be honest. You have to focus on letting it go, feeling into unconditional love. That doesn't mean, you are excusing bad behaviors. You're allowed to set boundaries for yourself, but you do have to shift your consciousness from a 3D focus to a 5D focus, and not holding on to grudges and negative energy, and instead shifting into how do we heal this for moving forward. So just keep that in mind, that focusing on negative thoughts about your twin or negative emotions towards your twin, they do feel that and they do pick that up, and it can cause them to withdraw with their own wounds being triggered of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy of you, or just feeling you're upset with them. So they just, without even realizing why, might be keeping their distance. So keep that in mind as well. The quality of your thoughts matter. Here's the quick summary for those who don't want to watch the longer videos. So, when it comes to thinking about your twin, here is the important distinction to make. Here is why the posts saying you're not allowed to talk about your twin are wrong, are both right and wrong, actually. You are allowed to think about your twin, but the quality of your thoughts matters and is important, okay? It is completely normal and natural to think about your twin, to feel their energy and feel the connection literally constantly. And trying to turn that off is unnatural. That might be foreign from the 3D thinking perspective, from the reality where people are like, just move on from relationships. All twin flames know you can't just move on from your twin flame, and you can't cut that cord or burn that connection. So it is actually completely natural to constantly feel it and for it to constantly be on. And there's nothing wrong with that. But because of that constant telepathic connection, the quality of your thoughts is something that your twin flame can feel. So there's not a problem with thinking about your twin and feeling their energy all the time. But if you are focusing on negative thoughts or emotions about your twin, they will feel that. They will feel it whether you are obsessing over what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, like if they're not giving you enough attention or making enough effort towards you. And they will also feel it if you are focusing on things that they have done wrong in the past, recent past, far past, whatever. Could have been yesterday. But if they have hurt you in some way, or there's been struggles in the relationship and you focus on the things that they've done wrong, they feel that too. You don't have to say anything to them. Those thoughts, it's not the random thoughts. It's when you're overly focusing on those thoughts or those emotions, and those thoughts and emotions are kind of controlling you. They can feel that telepathically, even if they don't understand it or know it. They don't have to hear you say it. They can just like get a feeling, basically. They can just have a feeling, an intuitive feeling, essentially, because it's a telepathic one, that you're upset with them or that you're not happy for some reason, and they will automatically withdraw. So that is where it's important. That is where what you're thinking about your twin matters, and the quality of the thoughts make a difference. So you need to focus on shifting away from the 3D thinking, shifting away from the 3D negative energy thoughts and feelings and emotions, and shifting to that higher spiritual perspective of seeing the bigger picture, the unconditional love, and how to heal the connection for moving forward. And that level of thinking is safe for the twin flame connection. The 3D level of thinking is what's not. Oh my God, you guys, the things y'all are sending me that people are saying, oh my God, it's killing me. Now someone sent me what they have seen people say besides the you're not allowed to think about them. Somebody else said, what was it? When you're in inner union, you won't think about your twin flame at all anymore, and you won't even want them anymore. That is so false. Like, if you stop wanting the person you believe to be your twin flame when you're in inner union, then they're probably not your twin flame. Okay. Oh my gosh, the frustration. I don't get, but I do get how people get to these thought processes. I think it's, again, the focusing on the 3D. Okay, put it this way. If somebody feels, we don't know if they're actually in inner union. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But if somebody feels that they're in inner union, then that's a good thing. They're healing, they're growing, they're integrating their higher self. Like, that state of inner union is integrating with your higher self. And like I described in the previous videos, it's a shift. It's shifting and evolving and changing, like, your inner state and how you function in the world, how you see the world and how you function in it. And that's all good. But being an inner union does not mean that you don't want your twin flame anymore. It doesn't mean, inner union does not mean that you are giving up on your twin flame and moving on with your life. That is not inner union, okay? That is actually, if you're really moving on from your twin flame, if you really don't want them anymore, you're essentially abandoning your twin flame and giving up on your twin flame journey. So you might be in inner union, but you're not honoring the twin flame journey that you're on. The twin flame journey is firstly about your own spiritual rebirth and your own process to inner union, but the union with your twin flame is still important. It is still the ultimate mission for your twin flame journey. Like, you're not supposed to come into inner union and that's it, and then you're just stay alone or you're with somebody else. Like, twin flames have a higher mission of coming into union to assist the world in the ascension process, because twin flame unions are like mini ascension events where the frequency and vibration for the twin flame pair coming into union spikes in frequency and vibration, lifting the vibration of the planet. And the reason why twin flame waves tend to come into union at the same time or similar time frames is because it's like triggering a wave of high frequency events that help raise the vibration of the planet. Coming into inner union does help that process for ascension. You are raising your own vibration, but it jumps exponentially coming into physical union with your twin flame as well. Nobody is meant to come into inner union alone and that's it. And that's the end of your story, or you just end up somewhere else, not with your twin flame. Union with your twin flame is the ultimate final goal. And if you don't achieve that in this lifetime, then you will achieve it in the next one. That's a whole nother topic about what I've channeled and spoken to Jesus and Spirit about in regards to the different types of twin flames, and twin flames who are guaranteed for union in this lifetime versus twin flames who have essentially promised in their soul contracts to come into union in their next lifetime. And that has to do with the twin flames who are contracted to assist with the beginning of ascension versus the twin flames who are contracted to assist with the middle or the end of ascension. That's down to your personal contracts. But don't believe that you can just come into inner union and that's it, and you're not going to want your twin flame anymore. That's not how this works. Okay, so another possibility for somebody like that is maybe they're a monadic twin soul. A monadic twin soul is a different type of twin, not even really a twin flame, and that's a whole nother long story. Monadic twin souls have not gone through a soul split yet. Twin flames have gone through a soul split. Monadic twin souls have not gone through a soul split. Monadic twin souls don't actually have one twin flame that they're supposed to end up with. Monadic twin souls are the only types of twins who can come into inner union, and that's it. And the reason why is because they have not gone through a soul split yet. So they don't have another half to their soul that they're supposed to come into union with. Monadic twin souls is like a preparation stage for a soul before becoming a twin flame. Monadic twin souls do, like people who are monadic twin souls, I should say, they do get confused about that and don't properly understand that because it's not really known. Like, this has come from a conversation that I've had with Jesus and God, but most people haven't. So there's an explanation for you for some twins that probably don't even realize that they are monadic twin souls if they are. But those are the only types of twins who would not be destined for physical union with their twin flame. And they're the only types of twins who would be able to come into inner union and not think about or care about or want their supposed twin flame anymore. And I say supposed in this case because they don't actually have a twin flame. They have a different monadic twin soul who helped be a catalyst for their journey, but they're not destined for union with that person because that's not actually their twin flame. Hopefully that makes sense because I'm explaining it quickly. Because I want to get back to my original point. That was not my purpose for this video. I do have videos about that. They're probably buried now because they're from years ago. I will have to talk about that again soon. Remind me if you guys want to hear more about that, because I was not anticipating bringing it up. But anyway, so getting back to my main point before I run out of time. Coming into inner union does not mean you're abandoning your twin, giving up on them, moving on. That is something different. That's abandoning your twin flame journey, frankly. And my guess, I would say, is like that person's not in inner union. Maybe they've convinced themselves that they're in inner union, or maybe they've gotten to a place where they feel like they can, move forward in a healthy way. But that doesn't sound like inner union to me, because I know for a fact, and yes, I will say fact, that inner union and surrendering does not mean you're moving on from your twin flame and you don't want them anymore. I don't know any true twin flame who is able to stop thinking about their twin and stop wanting them. If you can stop thinking about your twin and stop wanting them, they're probably not your twin flame. Sorry, but I think that's a safe assumption. Surrendering, letting go, does not mean moving on. It means detaching from expectations, detaching from needing them in a codependent way. It's detaching from wanting or needing things to happen in a certain way, in a certain time frame. It's surrendering to divine alignment and divine timing, and not putting any pressure or, once again, expectations of what should happen or when. It's literally just living in the moment, going with the flow, allowing everything to happen how it needs to and align how it needs to, without any pressure or stress or that feeling of that, like, I need something to happen in a certain way or I feel like I'm gonna die. Which I feel like we've all been there on this journey. That is what surrendering means. That is what inner union feels like. It feels like, I love my twin. I know we will be together. I completely trust we will come into union. I'm fine with however and whenever that comes together. But it is not, I don't even want this person anymore and I'm moving on with my life. So I hope you guys can understand the difference, okay? Hey, y'all. I'm sitting here contemplating about these advisor accounts, like I've been talking about the last few days, that tell people that you shouldn't think about your twin flame, that you won't even want them when you're in inner union. But they also, part of their message is that when you stop needing your twin flame, stop thinking about them, your twin flame will feel that and come running to you, right? Because they feel you pulling away, essentially. And even the whole not wanting them anymore, my thought process is also, could they be trying to say that it's really because you're in inner union, so you don't need them in that unhealthy codependent way anymore, hence not wanting them anymore? But I don't know. Okay, so I there's so many different accounts. I can't get in the head of every single one of them. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm thinking about, are they just trying to get people to see that you need to come into that different inner state, essentially, like I described to you? I don't want to re-describe it. But yeah, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here and thinking, like, did they really mean this? Did they really mean that? I don't want to rehash all that, but another thing I read earlier was, your twin flame will feel your emotional detachment and, want to come closer to you and want to reach out and that type of thing. And, it's what got me thinking in the first place. And, there is truth to that if you withdraw from your twin, they very well could come running because they don't like that. They don't like that you are feeling distant. Now, let's pause and point out, is that a good thing? Because, and I know I said this somewhere along the way, but, do you want them to show up before they're actually ready, and even before you're fully ready? Because then you're just going to end up in another separation again. Like, if they come running out of fear, not because they're healed and aligned and ready for union, then you're just going to go through another cycle of being together and ending up separated again. So there is that to factor in, though it will feel validating that they come back, right? Here's the thing for me also, and this is how I didn't really talk about how I handled my journey. I didn't even know we were twin flames until like halfway through my journey. Hadn't even heard of twin flames yet. But I never did anything like, not thinking about him, not having his picture. I have his picture in frames and on my phone. and I would never even consider like deleting all that. I still have our text messages going back probably almost the entire time I've known him. So yeah, I did not subscribe to any of that. And it was never an issue. And we have been in some type of communication almost the entire 12 and a half years since we met. There's been some quiet periods, but for the most part, we don't usually go longer than a few weeks, or we didn't usually go longer than a few weeks without communicating in some way, shape, or form. There was only one longer stretch that, to be honest, I didn't even realize until hindsight, because I was still sending him messages. It just didn't occur to me that he wasn't responding for a while, because we were deep in the middle of our separation for a reason at that time. But I was still sending him messages. I hadn't stopped sending him messages. And all of the messages that I sent were spirit guided as well during that period of time. I'm sure there was a phase earlier on where I sent fear-based messages too. But during that particular stretch of him not replying to me, I know that those messages were definitely spirit guided. I literally would outright ask spirits, do you want me to send this? What should I say? That was all part of helping to guide him. There's a lot of advisors as well who think that the divine masculines need to figure everything out on their own, learn everything on their own. But I really do believe that my masculine, at the least, he learns from me. Maybe not directly. He's not completely comfortable with those conversations like in person, or like direct also being like through text or on the phone. But I am aware, as Spirit has told me, that he watches my videos on my business pages. And it was also in some of those emails that I sent him where Spirit wanted me to explain stuff to him about the spiritual stuff. So basically helping him with his spiritual awakening. And I believe he will continue to learn stuff about that from me as we continue to move forward as well. So I don't think that they're always supposed to figure it all out on their own. I think that there are times when the divine feminine is meant to teach the masculine, whether in a direct way or an indirect way. And I also believe that the masculine can continue to grow and learn along their spiritual awakening side as you are coming together also. Like, I don't believe, and this is what Spirit has told me as well, that the masculine has to be 100% awakened, 100% healed. There's a threshold they have to pass. There's a threshold that the divine feminines have to reach, and a threshold the divine masculines have to reach. And they can also continue to heal together and awaken together. You don't need all of that to be 100% complete before union, okay? Another thing for me, which was the main thing I wanted to bring up, was that I deeply understand how the masculines behave and why, because I have a bachelor's and master's in psychology, and between that and the spiritual perspective, like, I just innately understand the divine masculine behavior patterns. I even get defensive of them and for them, because I understand why they function how they do, which is they almost all have avoidant attachment disorder, and avoidant attachment is created from having caregivers in childhood that you can't rely on. So they have very deep abandonment wounds and self-worth wounds caused by having their parents essentially like fail them. And that's why they withdraw and they run, because they're afraid to trust relationships. And the love of the divine feminine, even before you understand it, is so intensely powerful that it scares the crap out of them, because they're afraid of being abandoned by the divine feminine, and they're afraid of not being good enough for the divine feminine. And that's why they have to go through such an intense healing journey to feel worthy and to trust in the connection. And it was very, very, very important to me. Can't tell you when I figured this out, but it became very important to me to absolutely never trigger that wound for my twin. Like, during our separation periods, there was only a very brief, very, very brief, by a matter of months, period of time where I tried to put distance there and move on, so to speak. And that was before I even knew we were twin flames, and when I thought he chose a karmic over me. And then I later found out about the spiritual warfare that was involved. But when I made the choice to move forward in this journey and not give up on him, from that point forward, I was absolutely never going to do anything to make him afraid of losing me, or to make him afraid that I was going to abandon him. I was never going to trigger those wounds. And that's another thing, probably why it bugs me when I see people talking about inner union and saying you can't think about your twin, you can't chase in any way, whether physically or internally, because to me, like, I would absolutely never want my twin flame to be afraid of losing me and have those wounds triggered, which is only going to cause regression in his healing journey, and is only going to cause him to not trust in me in the connection. It has always been extremely important to me for him to feel secure in our connection no matter what. And you know what? We're in the reunion stage. We're continuing to progress. We're in a good, stable place, and we have been for a while. It's the progression has been still both of us working through various healing stages and whatnot. I'm going to run out of time, so I don't want to get into that too much. But basically, everything, my method worked for me, and I just don't agree with that thought process of you have to like cut them off and move on and not think about them and all that stuff. So I don't know what their exact intentions were in those messages, but that is my beliefs about it all, and those are my recommendations for you guys. So I hope that helps whoever it helps, really.